an extinction of two races,
Mm-hmm.
black and white. Because in 50 years to come, there's not going to be no more black and white. It's going to be more biracial
Mm-hmm.
and other tribes. Other races.
Mm-hmm.
Because now the biracial girl feels like she's not white. She feels like she's not black. So what are you, biracial? Meaning she's neutral or he's neutral. And their culture and their way of life is not the same as the dad and mom. They choose theirs, so they do whatever they want to do, and and I can understand why a lot of other races are trying to end that, because they see their race getting extinct, because nobody wants their race to be extinct, knowing that the house that your forefathers that gave you, and the properties and investment they gave you, that you were supposed to pass on to your generation that's the same color as you, and then you pass on to the generation that's not the same color as you. You're like, damn, my stuff is gone. So people are saying that, they're like, what can we do to stop that? But you can't do nothing. And this is the new world we're living in, and nobody, and most people are not happy with that. So yeah, so that's what I want to say there.
Okay. Lord be with me. So, one thing, one piece of what you shared, I want to talk a little bit about, and it's the idea of um, why I'm trying to figure out how to frame the conversation. So, back in history, in slavery times, we know the history books have taught us that um, a lot of African people were treated like experiments, right? Um, you know, white European people were, you know, capturing, black or African individuals and just running all these scientific tests because they want to figure out the anatomy of a black person, the level of pain that they're able to endure, just all of these different features, right? And I don't profess to know all of the details in regards to that, but I've read a couple of articles and seen a couple of documentaries that talked about that. Um, but the idea of how powerful the black community is, I think a lot of our challenges is because we don't realize how powerful we could be as a community if we would unite. So, if we understood what each other brought to our community and how us creating a stronger community or creating that lineage is going to make it more impactful. And the thing is, people outside of the black race, they know how powerful we are. So it's easier to keep us apart. Yeah. It's easier to keep us in situations where it seems like we're at odds, where it seems like black men and black women just can't get it together, that they're arguing about the same old nonsense over and over. 50-50, provider, submissive, what do you bring to the table, your appearance. And like a lot of women, um, unfortunately, tend to want to take on more European features because they want to be more desirable by their men, because they see that our men tend to go for the more exotic looking young lady, the long hair, the fair features, lighter skinned, and that can roll into a whole nother conversation. So it can roll into like the idea of what we think is beauty and what is beautiful. So, men fall prey to that because, they're being told like your woman should look a certain kind of way. She should dress a certain kind of way, talk a certain kind of way, wear her hair a certain kind of way. So you tend to see a lot of men go for women outside of our race because, black women, our hair is not straight naturally. It's curly or kinky. We have wide nostrils, big full lips. But then the funny thing too is you see a lot of women who are not black are doing all these enhancements to themselves to take on these black features. So it's like we're not good enough to date, but you are okay dating women who try to look like us. And it doesn't make any sense to me at all. And I think it has a lot to do, it actually goes a lot deeper than the fact that some men feel that black women are not submissive, or that they were raised in single parent households, specifically single mother households, and that they were not raised to be wives or mothers, and therefore they want to fight and combat and try to be a man and all this other nonsense that they want to sit here and tell us as far as a reason as to why black men don't want to date black women, when they don't want to really deal with the issue of the fact that men have been programmed to think that black women are not beautiful. And that's really what it is. There's been programming and conditioning for black men to look at their women as we're not beautiful, that we're not desirable, that we have to conform and wear our hair a certain kind of way. We have to wear makeup and eyelashes and all these things to be desirable to men. And then at the end of the day, we do all the things, right? And we're still not chosen. And they want to fall back on the whole thing, well, you're not submissive, which I think is just a cop-out. It's really just the idea and the conditioning and the programming of men. The fact that they have been groomed to look at black women as not beautiful. Now, I will say that that's not the case for a lot or majority of men, praise God. There's still men, black men, who see the value in keeping the black structure within their community, and they aspire to date black women. And they're not intimidated by the fact that maybe a black woman was brought up in a single parent or single mother household, or that she could be a little combative, but he's learning how to love her. They're learning how to love each other. They're learning how to navigate life, and they understand that they're powerful together, and they're building empires, they're building families, they're building communities. So while there are a segment or a population of men who are pursuing relationships outside of their racial demographic for various reasons, there are men who are in pursuit of loving, adoring, providing for, taking care of black women, to continue our lineage and to continue our community. And those are the things that we need to focus on, right? And once people really get to the point to where they're honest with themselves about the reasons why they're pursuing relationships outside of their racial community, we'll still continue to have this conversation. And a lot of it's just opinion, right? We look at situations and circumstances and we see it from our perspective, from our experiences, and that's kind of how we arrive at where we stand on the issue. It's not to say that he's right, I'm wrong, or vice versa. It's just like our experiences have kind of led us down that road. But it's important to consider a lot of other factors that come into play when it comes to interracial dating. It's not only, again, because black women are perceived as being not submissive. It's conditioning. Again, it's just the beauty standards. It's just like these women, they look exotic, and like your kids are going to be exotic. And like you said, to your point, unfortunately, we're going to get to a situation where applications are going to look interesting when it comes to you listing your racial, or ethnicity, because it's going to be like other, and you got to list all these different things. And it's like, the black community can become extinct. The white community can become extinct. And then other is going to be like the racial majority. Yeah. So I do see that coming as well too. But I think there's still enough people who believe in, maintaining their lineage and maintaining their black strong community, and we just need to give more voices to that than to the other.
What you said is good, because I'm a strong believer in maintaining the community, the black community. But one issue we have as black people is that we, like you said, we're not united.
Yep.
And for our women, they don't value what God gave them, because God made you the way you are, naturally beautiful, but you want to look like the other race by putting fake hair, fake stuff in your body, changing your body to look like, to be accepted by the other race. That's why I say You see a black guy move out from the hood, right? He got a better job, better opportunity. Instead of him like coming back and impacting the community, he buys a Benz, buys the latest house to fit in like the other race to be accepted.
Yeah.
But they're never gonna accept you. They're never gonna accept you because it's deep. It's a history. I was watching the boxer, what's his name again? The one that died, Mohammed.
Okay.
And he said that, racism is like inbuilt trauma in all gene of the black community, right? Where like you have like 10,000 like other tribe, other race coming to you, and inside that 10,000, 1,000 is good. Are you gonna open the door for the 10,000 to see, and they're trying to bite you, and you're like, let me open it for the 1,000? Nah, you're gonna keep it closed for everybody. So it's that trauma that's inbuilt. So we gotta like understand that we have been brainwashed to hate ourselves. We have been brainwashed to hate other like Africans. Like we feel like African Americans feel like Africans are the one that put them in this situation. No, we are victims of mental slavery and slavery, because I always say like me and you might have the same uncle. You might be my lost long cousin. Maybe. You know what I mean? Because it's a history.
Yeah.
You don't know where you're from. I know where I'm from, but you might be like my long lost sister or my long lost brother. So we gotta the day we stand up and we start loving each other and we start valuing how God created us, is the day we change and do better. But the way we're doing right now is gonna be chaotic, because one, you have the people hating each other. You have the people marrying outside their race, thinking that that's what is better. You have people not disliking their own race because of their trauma or how they grew up with a single mom and stuff like that. So it's a whole lot of bunch of situation that makes a person, because I believe in normal terms, nobody wants to marry outside of their race, but condition makes you do that. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's not love. Sometimes it's trauma. Sometimes you feel like this race is better. That you have made money and that you need peace, and the other race can give you that peace, that submissiveness. That you've been dating black ladies before and she never did, and you date a white woman and she gave you happy. I mean, I don't have issue. You do what you want to do, whatever makes you happy, right? So for me, I'm more of a, black marrying black and keeping our lineage to that, because we're the first creation of that God created. Africa is the first human creation. Everybody's originated from Africa. When people started changing skin color is when people started migrating from different countries, and the weather lightens your skin. You know what I mean? So like me, when I came here, I was really dark, but after some years, I became light.
Me too.
So when I go home, they be looking at me like, is this guy from this country? It's because of the weather. That's the advantage of it. It makes you light if you want to be light, but the disadvantage that it makes your bone weak, that you got to take calcium pills. You got to take vitamin D's. If you don't do it as a black guy here from Africa, you might be walking to the store and your bone breaks. You know what I mean? But in Africa, we don't even know what calcium or vitamin D is. We get enough sun every day. So our bone is strong. I can kick you with my leg and I still remain the same. But try that here, your leg will break. So it's a difference. But I mean, that's life. You sacrificing A to get B. So everybody wants, and my understanding is everybody wants to marry their race to preserve their lineage, their culture. But when your own race, some of your race, is not giving you what you want as a man or woman, that's where interracial marriage comes. And if we're not careful, we are going extinct. The black, the white is going extinct, where you're going to have the majority as the biracial kids. And the biracial kids have no cultural identity. They are neutral. Why I say that is because you see a lot of African Americans in this country, for example in America, they've never been to Africa. They haven't even took a flight to another country. Maybe they've been to like Mexico or Bahamas, but they never been outside of the U.S. like ours. But you go to their house, you see African portraiture. They have African dashiki. They have African. They love African. They love like the structure, the culture, the art, because they feel that that's where they belong. But for them to go there, that's where it's real hard. Then you see the biracial kids, they got nothing because they're neutral. When a person is neutral, they don't have no culture. Why I say that is because, for example, my country and my tribe, we're teaching our kids English. Kids grow up, they don't even know how to speak their language. And they grow up with English understanding, right? They don't even know the tradition, the culture. And the parents think they're doing good because the kid is advanced in English. They can speak English good. Because they speak English, they're intellectual, they're smart. They can go to the white man land and make it. Nah, you're destroying that child. Because that child can make it, but that child has no identity of who he or she is. No identity of their lineage. And they're neutral. And when a child is neutral, the water can wash them away because they don't know left and right. So sometimes we do stuff because we feel that we're inferior. We don't value ourselves. We don't understand ourselves. We don't have pride on what God gave us. We want to be like the other people. The other people want to be like us. Who's going to be like who? That's the question. Yeah.
Lord. So you had me up until you kind of went in a different direction. I just hate that there still seems to be a focus on Black women. It's so aggravating. Black women aren't the only person, or anyway. So, biracial children not having an identity is not true. It's not. It's going to depend on how they're raised. Right? It's going to depend on how they're raised. And you don't have the numbers. I don't have the numbers. So what you're sharing is your opinion, right? Okay, so I can respect that. That's your opinion. I'm of the opinion, again, that it's going to depend on the individual and what they find or hold to be true and valued to them. So if someone enters into an interracial relationship or marriage and they conceive children who are now biracial, there are some households who think it's important to expose their children to both cultures, whatever it may be, whatever the racial, ethnic backgrounds of the parents are. So again, it goes far beyond it being Black, white, whatever. And that's important, right? And then there are some instances where there may not be a focus on like culture and they just kind of want to raise their kids however they want to. And they're the parents, they have the right to do that. But again, to kind of paint this picture to make it seem like, all biracial or majority biracial children have no identity or don't know culture is not true, because we don't have anything to support that. It's just an opinion, which again is fine. You can have your opinion about that. When it comes to, you mentioned earlier, when it comes to Black women making these alterations to themselves to be more desirable, it's a learned behavior, in my opinion, because they observe that, their men, the men that they love and they want to be with and have a family with and build a life with, are choosing women that don't look like them. Okay, so they understand that the dating marketplace is very competitive. So not only do I have to vie for the attention and the affection of a Black man, with other Black women, I have to also contend with women who are outside of my race, with white women, with Hispanic women, with Asian women, the whole spectrum, So they're unfortunately, some of them feel that they have to do things to enhance themselves to make them more marketable. So they're wearing their hairs a certain kind of way. They're getting all these dangerous surgeries because Society has taught them that their natural beauty is not good enough. That he's not going to pick you because you look like his mother or you look like his grandmother. So because and again, I could be wrong, but it's competition. So you're going to have to do whatever you can to have the upper hand to be able to be as desirable as you need to be chosen. And that may be the narrative for some women. And then there may be other women like, I don't care. The fact that, that's who they're pursuing. I still love Black men. So even though I see Black men in my community who are choosing to be in relationship with women who don't look like me, who are not of my ethnic background, doesn't mean that I'm going to change, not still want to be and love a Black man. Right. And then there are women who are deciding to also date outside of the race. Not to say because, there's no Black men. It's just what you're exposed to. Like if you've had experiences in dating men who are not Black and they treat you at a certain level to where you like, then it is what it is. Who am I to tell you like you should only date and love a Black man? It's your decision. It's your decision. It's your right. If that's who you choose to love, I pray that, your life is fruitful together with this person, but then also understanding too, like if we continue on down this road, like you said, the races are going to go extinct. So we're kind of like at a crossroads and it's like, I don't have the answer to the question. I know what's not productive is bashing Black women on again this narrative or this rhetoric about that we're not submissive, we don't treat them right, that needs to stop because it's not helping the issue by pointing fingers, and that conversation is not productive. It's old and it's tired. Like I'm sick of hearing about it. I want to be at a table with people having conversations about this, which is important. Talking about interracial dating or interracial marriages and the impacts and the downstream impacts on what it'll have on the Black, white, whatever race. Okay? But if we're going to sit at a table as a community of people and point the finger and say, well, you were raised by a single mother, that's why this. Or you're not submissive and that's why that. And you're not this and you're not that. Let's talk about what we are. We are stronger together. We are smart people. We are resourceful. There are things that we can do that's going to better our community. So let's put our heads together and figure out how we can do this together. Instead of continuing this narrative that's been brought down by those who have oppressed us to continue to separate us and keep us at odds with each other. They're winning. This whole thing was by design. And you go on social media, you see Black men and Black women fighting each other all the time about stuff that's irrelevant. We have communities of people who are dying just for being Black or being Asian or whatever. Like you have people who are out here targeting specific ethnic minority racial groups just for the heck of it. Let's talk about that kind of stuff and how we're going to put an end to that stuff instead of talking about and beating up Black women because we're not apparently submissive. Like that's old and tired. I'm over it. Let's try to move this forward and try to really think about ways that we can improve our community, that we can lean on our African brothers and sisters and the traditions and things that work in their community and try to leverage that for ours, right? And if you decide to love anybody else that's outside the race, that's your decision. I just pray that, your life together is fruitful and that you're able to make an impact in your own way.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying, but it's funny how how women's, instead of them looking to why they're not choosing, they do another way around. Women's don't ask why is the man's running away from us? Why is the relationship not working?
Can I ask a question?
They try to go into changing their body.
Am I able to ask a question?
Can I finish?
Yeah.
They're trying to go into their body. They're trying to change their body. but not realizing that the issue is the behavior. The issue is the how they output their emotions.
It's always the
The
woman's
issue is how they do how they are submissive to the man.
It's always the woman's
So it's not about beauty when it comes to dating a guy or a guy leaving. It's more about behavior.
Yep, it's
So
always
if,
the
so
woman's
if you changing your body,
Mm-hmm.
changing your hair, you're doing it for just you. It's not solving the situation.
They're still not picking us.
And it's more of us coming to the table and talking and seeing what the problem is, because there's a reason why successful brothers go for the other race.
It's our fault.
So if the people cannot talk and understand what the situation is, and if women cannot accept what the brothers are saying and telling us what they think we should do or what we cannot do, we let them know, you're not our mom, we are men, we are custodians of the society, we are kings. And if you want us, this is what we want as a man, because we have the power to relationship.
That's great.
We have the power to marriage.
Wonderful.
And you have the power to the cookies.
Okay, that's it.
You know, and that's the way life is built.
That's the way how life is built. Yeah.
And when I say stuff, I don't generalize. You have some good sisters that are very submissive. That's very good. You know, and you have some bad, right?
We
But
always
they
hear
say
about
the bad apples
always spoil the bunch.
always spoils the good
So
apples.
we always hear about the bad ones.
And for me, a lot of reason why, because I think like men's always want to marry their race, but there's a reason why they're marrying outside of their race, and if that reason is not treated, it becomes a cycle. It becomes a norm, and if it becomes a norm, well, some people can say the other race is winning, but nobody's winning, because the two races are being extinct. Because we are the only people that are created in this world by God that can marry any race and produce our own. But no other race can. I can marry Chinese, produce a black kid, or biracial, which is almost like black, just more light, you know. But a Chinese cannot produce a Chinese with a black person. They might produce the same eye, like a Chinese eye, but not all. The same as white, whatever, right? So we are the kings of the world. We are the first human creation of God. And that means our God is black. Or our God is the same color as us. Because color is given by a human being. So only God knows our true color. But my point is, I believe and I support in marrying the same race. I love my black women. I encourage them, but I don't like unsubmissive black women. I don't like some black women that don't know how to coordinate themselves with a man, a king. That's where I dissociate myself with. And I can understand that from coming into this country in the Western world. I can understand how the brothers feel. I can understand how some sisters feel, because some of our brothers here are not doing what they're supposed to do. And make some sisters go to another race. But what I want to ask those that do interracial marriage, that if you and your partner have a fight and she calls you the N-word, because it's ingrained, no matter how much she loves you, the day she gets upset with you, she's going to say by the slip of what are you going to do? Ask yourself that. That's one. Two, those kids that you're raising those kids with two different cultures, two different understanding, two different life experience, two different history, and two different social acceptance. It's not going to be easy on them. So I understand when Dr. Omar is against interracial marriage. I understand that, but at the end of the day, I understand why our brothers here choose to go the other way, because of the experience with the sisters, the trauma, the innegotiative ways, and the unsubmissive level of it. I understand that. That's why everybody gotta do what makes them happy. Because this life, we came this life, we're gonna go. Whatever makes you happy, go ahead. But I would love to see a future generation where the women will understand that it's not your beauty that's the problem. The problem is your character. The problem is your ability to not be submissive. The problem is your ability to know what is your role with a man or what a man is. When you leave, when you start understanding that, you're not gonna focus on going to Brazil to get a butt lift. You're not gonna focus on buying the most expensive weave on. You're not gonna focus on changing your skin tone. You're gonna focus on how can I change my behavior? How can I change my character? How can I learn? And how can I be a better person to get a better black man? And that's why I say we have to talk and know where we're going wrong and work on each other. So that's my point on that.
I would really love to have a conversation around what's happening in our community and it not be that Black women are the problem. I would really love to. Again, I'm tired of hearing that everything is the Black woman's fault in our community. Um, yeah, because we didn't do it by ourselves. We didn't arrive at this destination by ourselves. But this was an interesting conversation that we had this evening. So we thank you guys for tuning into the podcast. We'd love to hear your comments or your thoughts about the discussion and how you feel interracial dating. And again, I understand the audience is mainly African, but it's not mutually exclusive to Black people. Interracial dating would encompass any race, deciding to date someone else outside of their race, regardless of what the race is. But we're just curious to kind of hear from your perspective about this conversation, what you feel, the impacts of interracial dating as it pertains to our culture, the way how we look as people. And so we'd love to hear from you with that. So I guess we'll go ahead and end our episode this evening. So we thank you guys for tuning in and we'll catch you on the next one.
Love you guys. And you have a good night from your Bohomo boy, UBA Dollars.
And I'm Queen Teah. Have a good night. Peace.